Hey, everybody. No, I'm not starting off as normal for the moment. I got to do something important first. Last week's show, I ended up having my net go out on me, which meant that last week's show ended abruptly. So I need to do a real quick drop in for Dalan to add to the end of last week's audio so that people understand, it wasn't intentional. It's just kind of the way that it is. So, Dalan, here is your drop in three, two. Hey everybody, sorry about that. Apparently, out over here at Casa del Tribble, we ended up having a small problem of the net going out. It did not replace itself until about an hour after our usual close time. So, unfortunately, this week's episode, well, just ends the way that it does. So, please enjoy the episode the way that it is, and with any luck, we'll see you next time. Thanks for your patience and understanding. We'll talk to you later. And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because Tang is not just good for drinking, although it's arguable, it is also okay for making cookies out of. Just ask Dalan one of these nights. He'll tell you. Part of this is followed through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. It's Shujin. Hi. Good to be back with you. Yeah, last week was a little bit of a weird because I had technical issues. Sorry about that, everybody. But with any luck, we should not have a problem with that this week. I'll explain. From the Midwest of the U.S., currently the only one joining me right now, Brigid Fitch. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah,
Unless anybody else shows up, I'm just gonna have to be the trusty sidekick.
which is perfectly fine. Yeah, last week, it's not like I ran out of power. I do have a UPS, and it is operating my main computer, my network router cable modem combo. So even if like I suddenly lost power, I would still have enough. I would still have enough light from my monitors for about 20 minutes ish to make sure
Yeah.
that if things come back up inside that time frame, hey, cool, great. But when the data connection goes down, there's not a hell of a lot of anything you can really do about it.
Yeah. Internet fall down and go boom, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not even like I could use my phone. I'm far enough out in the boonies where if I were to try to do that, no, no, no. Don't get me wrong. Um, I do have one of the big provider for service, and where I am out here, at the time when the house was being built, the only one that was reliable was one of the old bells. Let's leave it at that.
Hmm.
So, it is what it is. Funny enough, at the time, I had the service that I had at the time when we were still living in the Buffalo Metro was Cricket, which
Hmm.
served me well for a long time. Inside of the metro, no problem. But there was a very specific spot that I knew when I got to driving out here. I knew, okay, I'm about to lose my connection. You have yourself a good day, and boom, just cuts right off right at that spot. And I even got an external antenna to put on a little mag mount to put on top of my car for exactly that reason. But even with that, there's nothing you can do about
Mine
it.
does that too. And I guess just because our coverage is so crappy where I am, believe it or not. And
Yeah,
so, like, sometimes if I send a text in the house, it won't actually go out until I go, like, out into a specific place in the driveway. It's really bonkers.
it's a combination of bad reception because of where you are, topography, construction materials. It's all that happy stuff. Radio stuff. I know a little something about that.
Yeah,
But
it's just fun if somebody sends me a text message and all of a sudden it pops up 3 days later.
see that's why having my phone work through the Wi-Fi for my network is a good thing
Hmm.
because That's why that works out well. Anyway, so with that out of the way, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. If you would like to join us actually live, which we would love, please feel free to do so, because we do that over on YouTube pretty much every week. Minor changes every once in a while, depending as to what's going on. But if you do, you can join us over in the live chat over here, of which Stephanie, good morning. And gonna tell you something in a couple of seconds. And Felis, hi. Yes, I'm feeling better. I had a little bit of a lay down. I wasn't feeling real great, but it was just earlier tonight. No big thing. I spent the day yesterday with my son. Went out to the college, picked him up, drove him out to our neck of the woods to do a little bit of food shopping and shopping because there was stuff and had some stuff that had to be done with the bank. I'm not going to go into that part, but I'm going to tell you this this piece of it all. I love being able to have a little bit of time with my kid. He's a great guy. I love it. And there was something that we had to do at the bank that involved needing a customer service agent. Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics of it, but I'm going to give you this much. What we wanted to have done, we couldn't do because of the way that things were set up with security and whatnot, and making sure that everything was on the up and up, and didn't quite understand it the way that my son was explaining it back to me. And it's just like, well, do you feel that you got the idea as to what needs to be done? And he's kind of hemming and hawing a little bit, and it's just like by the way, the branch that we were at, to say that it was like in a glorified tool shed is not overstating it. It was quite a small locale. But so the teller was over there. She's able to hear what's going on. She's like, well, do you want her to come back out again to explain it to you both? That'd be great. Came out, explained it. We had a good conversation. Nobody was all upset. I didn't do a Chad, as opposed to a Karen. And, we left. Everything was cool. We had a good time. And, a little disappointed couldn't do what we wanted to do, but, okay. So we drive out about the half an hour up to, where we are. We're having late lunch at Chipotle, the first time we've done that in a long time. And he gets a phone call. It's the bank. So it goes outside to take it, which taking the phone call outside because it's the bank, a little windy, so, whatever. He comes back inside and he tells me it was the bank. I'm like, yeah, I got that. And he's like, they called me back to say, yeah, we can actually do that. So the next time I get the chance to come over there, I'll just ride my bike over and take care of it. It's like, all right. The idea that, a customer service agent would actually go through the whole bother of checking and going a little bit further and then actually, calling back and saying, yeah, we can go ahead and we can do that. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. So, kudos, big time kudos. And I will go ahead and I will remind folks, we work with a credit union, not a bank, not a commercial bank. If you are an individual, don't go to a commercial bank. Oh, God.
Yeah.
The
Credit
dime.
unions
Oh,
are the way to go.
crap. Does the dime still exist anymore?
A time? Yeah.
Dime Bank. I don't remember if they.
Oh.
I don't know that they exist anymore. Crap. That was the first one that came to mind. Oh God, I'm an old so. But yeah, if you're an individual person, and you need a bank account, don't go to Bank of America, Chase Bank.
They suck.
No, they are commercial banks. They're supposed to be handling companies. That's why you go to local banks, regional banks, credit unions. You will just don't do it.
I've been with my credit union since 1986, and I'm so glad.
Yeah. See, my wife had gotten us into the credit union because of the place that we were working at, because they had a drive for that, and been with them ever since. I would not leave. I would not leave. I don't care if they've
Only,
only got 2 branches and they're small. I don't care.
yeah, I mean, this one's in Arkansas, okay? Which they don't have a branch out here. It's in Arkansas. But it's the only place that I know of that, I've got a credit card, with them, and it's 9% interest,
It's hard to argue
which
with
is
that right now.
which is like really good for any kind of a charge card. That's the lowest rate I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah. But then again, considering that interest rates for savings are virtually non-existent.
Yeah, but most credit cards charge 18% now, sometimes as high as 22, 23.
Yeah, yeah, is what it is. So
I spent 9% ever since I got it. It's never gone up.
gotta love it that way. Um, and really, I didn't tell you about this, but Stephanie, one of the things that happened when I went out to be with my kid, I'm listening to Skeptics with a K, another podcast, close warm personal friends of us over here at Holy Crap the Vlogcast, and they were recording apparently a week after Liz died. Please forgive the familiarity there. And they were talking about King Charles, which is just, it's going to take some time to get used to, of course. But one of the things that I had never known about, and we had a good, fun talk about this on our show last night, is that when you ascend to the throne, you are allowed to use any of your names as your king name. Now, the reason why this is funny and this is interesting, let me
He's got like 7 names, doesn't he?
actually 4 that he could
Oh, he's
have
only got
that he
four.
could have chosen from. His names are Charles, Philip, Arthur, George. Now, if we remember correctly, or if Dalan remembered correctly, that that order of names was actually a gaffe by Diana when they got married, and that was like her one, because if Dallin remembers correctly, his name combination is supposed to be Charles Philip George Arthur, and she screwed it up, which is
It's understandable.
yeah, I mean, a little bit of pressure. And let's face it, as Dallin put it, that's your one, with the family. But the guys at Skeptics with a K were just like, he could have picked whichever of those names that he wanted to use. Now, he could have gone with King George. It would have been George the Seventh, but not really great histories with Georges on the throne. So maybe not such an illustrious name to choose from. He could have been King Philip, in which case he would have been Philip the First. So setting a new precedent. Not bad. One of the oldest to ascend the throne, if not the oldest to date. So okay. King Charles. Well, everybody's known as Prince Charles for 70 years of his life. I mean, it's the natural progression, which makes perfect sense. But then they went ahead and they said, but he could have just taken the piss with everybody and decided to go with King Arthur.
Arthur.
Now, we had a good laugh about this last night, because the problem becomes, if he chooses this, does he become King Arthur the First or the Second? Because there's a lot of questions as to whether or not Arthur was a real personality. He probably was a fake and mythical personality, but just the idea, it was great. Now, the thing of it is, you've got then Prince William. Prince William's names are William Arthur Philip Lewis. or Louis, depending as to how you pronounce it. Now, if he were to be King Louis, of course, that would just be taking the piss from the French, which, I mean, England and France, we know full well that's not going to fly really well. Philip, King Philip, again, would be Philip the First, so not so bad. King William. Well, I mean, unless you put the Conqueror at the end of that, in which case, again, little hinky there, little hinky there. But again, you've got another chance for Arthur, so there is still the possibility for Arthur to come through it all. You know.
I still can't get used to calling Kate Catherine. I just can't.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I know. It is what it is. But you know, we had a good laugh about this information last night, Dalan and I, and just it was fun to think about it. We know full well that, you know, there's only so much you can push the establishment and try to go for King Arthur. But again, you know, King Arthur the First, King Arthur the Second, which is it going to be?
Let's do 1.5.
How do you write that in Roman numerals?
I have no idea.
So what would it be? Arthur I lowercase a? Because I don't think they've got lowercase letters in Latin, you know?
I know.
Oh, it is what it is. It is what it is. And Stephanie's pointing out a plethora of personal names is normal in our royalty. Yeah, yeah. And then looking up that there's a piece over there in Wikipedia that says that Charles wouldn't normally mention a family name, but if he did have it, and there's like this double this hyphenated name with a whole bunch of consonants and vowels, and it's like I don't want to be even bothered. I mean, it's English, don't get me wrong, or you know, English letters and whatnot. But I'll be damned if I'm going to go ahead and pack a lunch in order to get to the end of that combination. Just why even bother?
Is his last name Windsor Mountbatten or Mountbatten, or is it just Mountbatten?
You know what? Yeah, something like that.
Or is it just Windsor?
Uh,
I know that
no, it's
William and
Mount Moonbottom, whatever the hell it is.
I just remember that Henry and William went by Wales as their last name.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that if he showed up anywhere, I think all he needs to do is just, it's me. I mean, there are certain people that can get away with doing that. So, you know, it
Do
is
you
what it is.
know who I am?
God, I can't believe I actually did that to somebody one time. Just I still cringe at the memory of this. Is one of those 3 a.m. I need to go to sleep, but oh, this thoughts just come back into my head after 15 years. Anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, we'll deal with it. So, what do you say we get things rolling over here? Because otherwise, we're gonna spend way too much time, and you've got a date with a bed.
Yeah, I do.
So, how about I go ahead and get us rolling over here? So, let me get your 5-minute freestyle get started over here, which starts right now. Models. Also, one of the other podcasts that I was listening to on the way home, Scathing Atheist, because, you know, there's only a handful of them that I still listen to on a regular basis anymore, and I get inspiration from these folks. They've been doing it for a very long time, and you know, it's good to get ideas. And in this particular case, one of the ideas that came through was from, again, another older episode, because I don't listen to these on a regular, as it were, was the idea about what models are. And in this particular case, speaking in the scientific context, because we know full well lay talk versus science talk, you know, words have different meanings because of connotation, because of, you know, where they are. Models, scientifically speaking, are how do we describe what we see? And it's one of those things where, as was pointed out, you want to try to find a way of getting to the moon. Well, you use Newton's equations, and they work. They work surprisingly well, considering that we've refined pieces of these information. For instance, you wouldn't use Einstein's equations for relativity in order to get a rocket to the moon. It's just not the right tool for the job. But if you want to compensate for GPS satellites and the time dilation because of Doppler effect, well, yeah, sure, then relativity kind of starts to come into play. Same thing with long distances. You want to look further and further into the universe, you kind of have to start taking into account Hubble's constant. So the various models that we have gained over the span of the entirety of humanity have worked very well. I mean, to date, scientifically speaking, what have we learned? I'm going to say something that's going to sound really stupid, but we have learned water is wet. And that sounds so completely ludicrous, but from a scientific perspective, it's one of those things where it's just like, well, no, wait a minute. What exactly does that even mean, that water is wet? Water flows. It collects to itself the same way that, mercury does. They've obviously both got different properties. For instance, you can drink a liter of water and not really be really great off, but you could do it. I highly don't recommend doing that with mercury for various reasons, not the least of which is you die. But water has very specific and odd properties. We learned that it's made up of a couple of different things that, well, you put them into a separator, and it turns out that they turn into a gas, which explodes and then reforms into water. And this is absolutely a bizarre item if you think about it from the standpoint of somebody who doesn't understand this. But then you get to find out other pieces about water. You find out that it has polarity. It has a triangular shape. The atoms aren't just straight across to each other. And because of the way that these things are, their shape, their dimensions, the way that they interact with each other, how they form lattices as it gets to a certain temperature, the models that we have start to really understand. They get closer and closer to what reality does. And it's almost impossible for us to imagine getting something that is absolutely 100% without an error completely accurate to reality, because there are just so many different things to take into account. But eventually we might be able to. We could, so long as it's stuff that could be measured or anticipated. But the thing of it is it something that we can do now? No. Because we don't have enough information. That is the wonderful part of the scientific exploration. And I love that there's always still more to learn. Where's my thing over here? There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Episode 425 on the docket, Your Honor. Ethics and morality without a God, because, short version, I am sick and tired of dealing with people who are just like, well, atheists do this and atheists don't believe that. And you know what? Screw this noise. We're not going to go ahead. We're not going to punch back at every little thing that's been going on for everybody else. We're just going to go ahead and lay it out for you how our foundations work, why our foundations work, and why not everybody follows along the same way. There's good enough reasons for that. Before we get to that, however, we have got to get to the horrible scopes. So, for those of you that know what your astrological sign, just remember it's all for fun. Because I mean, we don't believe in astrology. Astronomy, yes. Astrology, nah. No, it's just having fun. So here you go. Aries. Alcohol is in your immediate future. Wine is worth buying, but only if you know what you like to drink. The accepted rules are red meat, red wine, and white meat, white wine. But what if you don't like how dry red wine is? You know, kind of like me. Yeah, you can drink whatever you like because, and here's the only rule that matters. Drink what you like. Just please stop adding ice.
Taurus. Your old roller skates are still in good working order, so let's give them some time back in the rink. Check the trucks for degradation, remove the bearings, replace the toe stops, and get back out there. They likely won't have a live DJ anymore, and they won't be playing the Cars or Blondie, but hey, it's about getting exercise and having fun, right? So go have fun.
You remember when they still had DJs that were like
Yes.
live? I miss those
Yes.
days, man.
I missed it. I used to be at the skating rink like every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday for like hours.
Yep, and I've got a bunch of royalty-free radio bumpers, where some of them have got the thing of all skate, everybody out on the skate floor, or what is it? Couples only on the dance floor, ladies' choice, you know, stuff like that. Reverse skate,
Reverse, yeah.
reverse skate.
But we used to get in the middle and line dance. So that was fun.
I always saw the lines that were in the middle section for the people that were doing formation skating, where it's, you know, the figure eights and the curves and the lines and whatnot.
Well, yeah, I used to do all that stuff too, but
I don't.
we used to do like, I don't know, like the hustle and stuff like that. I mean, it was crazy.
Oh yeah, all good.
Not exactly easy to do in skates, but we did it.
But that's half the fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being able to do it without falling over. Yeah, I folks, if that one specifically appealed to you, please remember, protect your coccyx.
Yeah.
Because you can
I have. My skating partner was really, really, really super tall. And there was one time that he, picked me up to do a spin and his wheels locked and he dropped me flat on my ass and broke my tailbone. That hurt.
Ooh.
I was crying. They had to carry me off the floor.
I can't blame you.
But that happened during practice and yeah.
Ooh. It's not like you can even... I was about to say it's not like you can even put a cast on that, so...
No, you couldn't.
No, you can't.
It was very painful. So, so ladies out there, if you happen to do any kind of, skating lessons and you have a partner, don't do a tall one that lifts you over their heads and drops you. Just don't do it.
If they lift you and launch you up, kind of like a ballet thing,
yeah.
If your hair touches the drop ceiling, you're in danger.
Yeah, he was like 6'4".
Without the skates?
Without the skates, yeah.
Which meant that he had about another 2.5 to 3 inches on top of that.
Yeah, it was painful. Do not recommend.
That's a big impact. Gemini, you wanted a naughty scope this week. So here you go. You remember the song Mana Mana, usually associated with the Muppets. It dates back to 1968, just before Sesame Street started. But did you know that it originally premiered in the movie Sweden, Heaven and Hell, a Mondo film covering topics like lesbian nightclubs, porn films, and the swinging lifestyle of married couples in Sweden. So, Enjoy imagining Miss Piggy in Japanese rope bondage hanging in a window. Or maybe I'm just hungry and I need to get to the Italian deli and get myself a sandwich to eat because I'm. As an aside, by the way, I did look it up. You can find this film on YouTube.
And I've seen it.
Yes, when I say that I do like
Your,
homework on these and
you do your
research,
research.
I do my research.
And I'm sure you didn't mind.
I actually, I didn't watch the movie. I went looking to find out if it was even out there because there's some movies out there that have been up there for a very 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 long time
Hmm.
that that really shouldn't be by a whole bunch of rights, but it's just so we don't care. For instance, there's one movie released by the Disney company, a live action movie that apparently they've just kind of whatever, a movie with Valerie Bertinelli called Chomps.
I remember that one.
You can find it and download it on YouTube because apparently the House of Mouse has just thrown up their hands and said, we don't care.
We don't care. Cancer Grandchild. There are plenty of different types of apples out there. It's time you found one you actually like. The stuff in those Hostess fruit pies are crap. McDonald's flaming hot apple pies are even worse.
It's true.
You want a bold, strong one to sink your teeth into? That'd be a Red Delicious. Something with a tangy bite, Granny Smith are the best. But if you want to make your own apple pies that are the best, Crippins,
Oh,
or
sorry.
is it Cripins?
Hold. I misspelled it.
Crispins. Okay, there we go. Trust us. This week, make an apple pie from scratch.
And I can say this with fact because when I was working at the bakery, Crispins were what we used. Those were the only apple pies I have ever been able to stomach.
I wonder if Honeycrisp would work in those.
Um, you can use pretty much anything that you like, but for whatever it was, Crispins just worked the best.
Hmm.
Leo, I'm so glad that I got this one. With drops in donations, animal welfare and rehabilitation organizations are having a difficult time making ends meet. This week, please consider making a donation to our favorite animal rehoming group, the Tempura House, a home for battered shrimp. If you don't have a local chapter, then please consider donating to a local animal charity of your choice instead. And thank you.
Oh, are you keeping batteries in your whatnot drawer in the kitchen? Why bother? They should really be in your pantry closet, or better yet, in the refrigerator. Or even better yet, stop buying D-size batteries. You don't own a boombox anymore, or a tape deck, or even a vintage 1970s tabletop electronic game.
Yo, we were talking about that last night, and Dalan's just like, I don't remember the last time I've needed to use a D cell in like forever. And the only times that I can think of for C's are what they call boomboxes these days, where you could conceivably instead just use like 4, 5, 6 double A's, and it's like, why? I mean, half the point is being able to lug this stupid thing around and getting a workout while you're doing it, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when's the last time we did. I don't know.
The only reason for using D cells anymore is if you've got one of those like 5 cell mag lights, those heavy duty metal flashlights.
Hmm.
It's the only good reason. Libra, it's still only October. Stop planning for Christmas already. Yeah, there are ads using Christmas musical themes already happening, but you don't need to help fuel it. Just deal with Halloween first. And remember, liquid latex looks great for parts of a costume, but it's gonna hurt coming off if you don't shave first. Remember, it's all about planning ahead.
Scorpio. Your collection of CDs need to be backed up before they break down and can't be read anymore. Not just music, but your old program CD. Things like Easy CD Creator Deluxe, Nero Express, and Inoculant Antivirus. Those CD burner programs might run under current day operating systems, but they're going to freak out when they go looking for a SCSI adapter and only find a SATA.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I've got many of those I have to go through. Sagittarius, which reminds me, if anybody wants a copy of Delphi 2 client server, I'm your guy. Sagittarius, for those of you that still remember how to program in Pascal for databases. Sagittarius, the legend of why vampires couldn't be seen in mirrors was because of the reflective material used. Silver's legendary ability to be reflecting pure things. These days, mirrors are made with aluminium. See what I did there? Making this detection system moot. If the mirror smith, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute, incorrectly mixes the silver for the backing, they might accidentally make an explosive cousin to the primer in bullets. This week, start wearing a scarf. Yeah, doing my research, I found out about that one. I was intentionally trying to find out what is the proper word for someone who crafted mirrors. Because we know full well, for Windows, it's a glazier. I had the hardest time trying to find this out. And the best one that I was able to find was Mirrorsmith. And I don't even think that one's correct. But when I found out about this whole thing where you could accidentally make an explosive that would go on the backside of your glass mirror, yeah, I had a hard time thinking about this one and going, oh, one bad move and all of a sudden you have no eyesight left.
Capricorn. If you haven't done it yet, now might be your best time to winterize and store your motorcycle for the season, or dry dock your boat, or get your snow thrower prepped. Minimally, check your generator's got fuel and everything works the way it's supposed to. Yes, it's still only mid-October, but the weather is turning and winter is coming. Oh, blow it out your ass. That was a good joke and you know it.
I'm pretty sure it was. Aquarius. There's a young gentleman on YouTube we suggest you check out. One Mr. B. Dalan Hollis. He's the Bermudian video creator who's been making vintage food recipes. You've probably seen him. There's some food that have just been bad, like a bologna cake from 1966. How could you tell it would be bad? The inclusion of spray cheese as decoration. But stick to the fan-created playlists of his good recipes. Like the 1956 chocolate mayonnaise cake. Happy baking.
I've seen some of those, just no.
The chocolate mayonnaise cake, though, his reaction to it is it was great. It was great.
Pisces. Remember the TV series Faulty Towers? The episode where Basil makes fun of Adolf Hitler, named The Germans, premiered this month in 1975, 30 years after the end of World War II. Ready for what can be mocked from 30 years ago this month? Pope John Paul II. Apologies for the 1633 Edict of the Inquisition against Galileo Galilei. This week, realize that it's never too late to apologize for a wrong you've done. Just keep in mind what the statute of limitations are for the offenses in question.
Yeah, it took him 350 years to finally get around to saying sorry.
Oops. Yep. Our bad.
And those are your horrible scopes for this week. If you like what you got, you're Gemini because you're the only one that asked for one. But if you'd like to ask for one, nice or nasty, all you need to do is bribe me by getting in touch, because I'm not above bribery, and vanity goes a very long way. I'll have these posted online at the end of the week when I get working on the next one. So that's going to be on Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, because apparently I'm one of the few non-bot accounts over there on Tumblr, because I found something to use Tumblr for, I guess. Is what it is. So let's go with this. Ethics and morality. There is something else that had come up on the Skeptics with a K show, where they were talking about a clinical trial that was being run, and they stopped the trial early. Now I forget exactly what it was. It had something to do with kidney medication. Again, I've forgotten the details of it, but the long and short of it was somebody wrote into them and was just like, well, if you're doing a clinical study, why would you stop it early? I mean, that seems kind of like you're not really supposed to do that. You're supposed to run its course and then, take the data and figure out what happened. It's kind of like, you're in the middle, as they put it, you're in the middle of a football match and West Hampton scores the goal and okay, that end of the game, we won. It doesn't work that way. So the guys were saying that what ended up happening with this particular trial that they were doing, they stopped it on ethical grounds, because apparently even at the roughly midpoint, I don't remember how far along it got, the information that they were gathering found out that the medication was working so well, it was simply unethical to keep it from the control group or the placebo group. And I found that to be an absolutely fascinating thing that I had never considered about before. Because one of the things that they did specifically mention about this was one of the specific data points that they were looking towards was death. Because these were people who were quite sick with whatever it was, and they knew full well that because of the way that the study was going to be happening, there was going to be an anticipated, I'm not going to say accepted, an anticipated percentages of death that's just simply going to have happen. And like I said, they stopped the trial early because they're getting the data and they're finding out that there is such a disparity that it's simply unethical to keep that medication from these people. And I was absolutely fascinated with that concept because, I mean, when the hell do we ever hear about stuff like that happening? And that's part of the reason why I wanted to kind of go through something like this. Now, Brigid, you're the medically trained one in the group. I don't think that you ever had anything to do, well, or at least I don't remember you ever having said that you dealt with anything with a trial basis or experimental stuff.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but you at least have an idea as to how medical trials kind of are supposed to work. I would anticipate. All right.
Yeah.
So the long and short of it, and you can kind of fill in the gaps. When you're doing a medical exam, a medical trial, you want to find out, does something work? Yes, no. And yes, no is kind of a graduated answer. It's not exactly yes, it's not exactly no. The answer is going to be somewhere in between. So you end up starting off with whatever the condition is. People who have the condition, you don't do anything for them. That's your control group.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have a group of people that get the treatment that is expected to assist, and then people that get a similar treatment, similar in form and expectation given to the patients, but don't actually have any active ingredient or actual whatever.
Yeah, placebo.
And those are the three groupings that go forward. Now, you know a little bit more about this part, I would assume, as far as to how do you split up people to go into those sections, and what's important about that, and the term double blind, because that's really important too.
Yeah. Or you want me to elaborate, or you just
Sorry, I was, but I took a drink and I almost started coughing because I almost inhaled part of that. I'm sorry. I wanted to at least give you a vocal cue, but I was in the middle of trying to make sure I didn't spit tang all over my computer. God, I hate when this happens.
oh, I mean, they do have to control, for things like, race, gender, age. If you have certain conditions, then they won't let you be a part of the study and blah, blah, blah. If you're on any medications for treating said thing that they're testing for, then, they rule you out. You can't participate. But ideally, I mean, the studies last for a long time. First they have to do like, they'll do animal studies, and then they might do in vitro with, you know, in a petri dish, or, using some kind of like a pseudovirus or whatever. And then they get to, limited people trials, and then it goes through 4 different stages before it's finally released as, a treatment if it happens to work. And if it shows no efficacy, then, the results show that it really, doesn't do any better than placebo, or has minimal effect, or has deleterious effects where it like freaking kills you. So, yeah, there's always that.
Yeah. Now the piece about this also is that once they've got a pool of people that meet the overall criteria, then they get randomized.
Yeah.
And the people who are part of the study, and the more the better, they're not supposed to find out if they're getting treatment, getting placebo treatment, or, well, I mean, the people that are getting nothing, obviously, I mean,
The
it's,
control group would know that they're the control group.
yeah, it's, and like I said, it can be one of those things where it's really difficult for somebody that is administrating to the people who are in the treatment or the placebo group, especially, to, keep a poker face, shall we say? And that's where the double blind idea comes in.
Hmm.
And uh, how comfortable do you feel explaining what that concept means?
What that means is the person that's receiving the said, medication or whatever they're testing doesn't know if it's the real deal or not, and the person administering it doesn't know if it's the real deal or not.
And that's to make sure that the people who are being treated, regardless of placebo or actual, they can't get a read from anything, because whatever the stuff is, it looks the same. It might, for instance, taste the same, but it's going to be as close to you think it's the real deal as possible. Well, like I said, with this particular study in question, they eventually just said, you know what, the data that we're getting so far, yeah, the people who are getting the treatment, the real treatment, they're doing significantly better. So much so that, like I said, they just said, stop the way that the trial is working, get everybody on the real stuff, and then just switch it over from being an active trial that way to an observational study instead. What is it doing? And how good is it doing? Because, again, morally speaking, we many of us would like to still hold on to the whole Hippocratic oath is a thing. The Hippocratic oath isn't a thing. It's an ideal, but it's not really a thing. But the idea of first do no harm, which actually, come to think of it, wait a minute, if I remember correctly, it wasn't even Hippocrates that had it originally? Or am I thinking of somebody else? Any case, it's a grand ideal. It really is. And it makes sense. So these people basically just said, you know what? The right thing to do is to not have people suffer. Great, cool, on board. Makes perfect sense to me. You're helping people when all is said and done? Good. And, you know, for a relatively simple concept like this, and I'm saying this for a reason this way, it makes sense. It just makes sense. If something is going to end up helping people, then why hold back?
Hmm.
And
That does happen.
yeah, yeah. And as was, oh yeah, by the way, I forgot. Sora, hi. I didn't greet you earlier. Sorry about that. But Stephanie, there it was. I was trying to figure out where it was. Had pointed out this is not the first case that I've ever heard of. It's a rare because new medication rarely is this effective. And you know what? Going forward, with the technology that we have for trying to model, there's a word again, how different chemicals are reacted to in human bodies, you know, before you even have to put anything into a petri dish, you know, being able to model this stuff on computers that are sharing the workload these days. Yeah, distributed computing is a friggin' hoot, man. I love it. But I can't speak on behalf of all atheists. I wouldn't even begin to. And none of the hosts that we have had, or continue to have, or will have in the future, would be stupid enough, arrogant enough to speak for all atheists. But for humanists, I think we can pretty well typify, if not speak for all. The concept of first do no harm may not exactly be codified in humanism, but man, the whole concept of it all is really up there, really high.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I have not read the Humanist Manifesto. I probably should have. I'm sorry. But, you know, humanism is basically, look, we're all in this together. Let's work together. I mean, grand scheme of things, it makes sense. So, what do atheists get their morals from? Where do we get our ethics from? Well, here's the problem. Just like with accounting, if you've got 10 atheists, you're going to get a minimum of 10 answers. And some of them are going to overlap, and some of them are going to be very out there. But generally speaking, atheists, generally speaking, overall blanket statement, which has got a lot of holes in it, and I know it, we basically believe that our morality comes from the idea of don't hurt somebody. And then kind of work from there. Now, you can quibble with a lot of the little pieces of it all, but for instance, in my head, I'm also hearing another piece of me that's saying, not hurt, harm. Okay. I know full well some of you freaks out there like to hurt each other. All right, you know what? That's the way that you want to show love. That's fine. It's fine. I was going to say, just don't include me in it all, but, I've been alone for a very long time. I wouldn't mind it. I mean, but Oh, good drink. Yeah, by the way, when I made my tang, I actually used some of I ended up brewing. I usually brew a large amount of coffee, and then put it into a couple of thermal units. I used what was after that to pour my water through to make my tang, so it's got some taste to it. So I just like that.
Are
The
you the are you the one who recommended doing the Nest tea, the instant Nest tea with Tang? Is that you?
I don't think so, no,
Might have
because
been a friend of mine from that might have been a friend of mine from Arkansas. That like when you're getting sick and you've got a really sore throat and stuff, the the Nest tea with lemon in it, and then you put in some Tang and you drink it warm.
are you sure there's still a friend though with something like that?
Yes. It actually helped and it wasn't bad.
All right, I mean, people eat.
For some reason I thought it was you, but I guess it must have been Sharon.
No, because I haven't done Nestea in a very, 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 very long time. And, come to think of it,
It was like a half and a half mixture, and then mixed it with warm water and drank it.
it's okay. So, as a complete aside, Sora was asking, where are the other hosts? It's a good question. It's a really good question. All right, short version. Joey is typically working. Dalan, well, it's holiday weekend up there Canada way for Thanksgiving. So, have Thanksgiving, guys. And, Dalan usually gets done with a DJ set, so doesn't really feel awake enough sometimes. Maybe, spinning down. And so that happens. Joseph, we've kind of figured is probably really still busy and needs a sleep. And, I mean, Dark Stupid in Paris and is getting, Dark Stupider with the sun going down now. And UnrenownedTech, you know what? Good question. I'm guessing Tech is probably like half asleep and is going to wake up like 15 minutes before we close, pop in and go, oh shit, guys, I'm here. I'm sorry. What did I miss? I wouldn't put it past him. So, we see what happens.
He has fallen asleep on air before.
That is true. That is true.
We've heard him snore.
That is true. It's adorable too. I mean, it's adorable for all of you people. For me, it's a pain in the ass because I'm the host and I'm the one that's supposed to go with this whole thing and just go, oh, shit, what do I do now? Oh, it doesn't look good on me. All right. Okay. So yeah, as far as how do atheists deal with the question of morality, we look to ourselves and judge what we think should be done or not done or corrected or punished or scorned or whatever terminology you want to use. We don't expect that we don't expect there's Big Daddy over our shoulder ready to, slap us over the backside of the head. And there's so many problems with that whole damn thing too, because just we've talked about this on so damned many occasions. And Brigid, have fun with this one. In with the Catholics, there is excommunication.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ping pong it over to you. Which one do you remember?
What about excommunication?
No. I mean, the Catholics got excommunication
Oh, disfellowshipping.
from the.
Uh, the more evangelical type of fundamentalist types of religions. I was Church of Christ, but I was disfellowshipped because I got divorced.
You've also got the same word, disfellowship, from the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah,
crap. What is
or shunning.
or shutting in general? Yeah, crap. I was trying to remember. What was the one that the Scientology uses? Because they've got their whole stalking is probably the closest word to it. I'm sorry. Should I not have
I
said that?
I can't remember I know it the word is in there somewhere in my brain, but I cannot remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah,
The
probably
ones that have
remember later.
left.
It doesn't matter. Regardless, it's a disgusting thing. It really is, because if you if you drop out of a religious circle, you're kicked out. Usually, not with all of them. There are some that will not do that to you. For instance, the universal you the,
With the Unitarian Universalists.
thank you. I was trying to figure. I couldn't put the right combination in my face correctly, for some reason. And then it's just like, well, just say you. Well, no, that's a cop out now because Unitarian Universalists. There you go. They generally speaking, they don't really care. You're here with us all. Cool. We're gonna read from this book because I mean it's kind of pretty much what we do, and basically they don't really stickler to all of it. But
You might happen to miss a UU service. They don't like call you up at work and go, "We missed you at church last Sunday."
and why didn't you send in your tithe this week? We give. Oh my God, I'd forgotten about that. My parents used to get. I don't remember if it was specifically my dad, but from the Catholic church that we used to go to, they would get a collection of tithe envelopes
Yeah.
sent, and they were about the size of whatever the size for bills, so that when you came in, you would have your whatever your $10, $20, and you'd mark it on the front and had your name and everything. You seal it in there, you put it into the collection plate, and I always found that one weird, but I didn't really think too much about it because I was a kid. Now that I think about it now and I've remembered about that, that is freaking creepy as shit.
Yeah, Baptist did that too.
Yeah, because the J Dubs will go ahead and ask, and the Mormons
Mormons
specifically,
will
the Mormons.
too. Ask, go, "Where's your money?
Yeah,
You owe us blah blah blah."
it's down there. Let me go take another look. There's a movie reference, and some of you people, goddamn, better get that one. Specifically, you Russians out there, you should know it. You white Russians in particular. That's a joke. But they will keep tabs of you. I mean, and if you don't follow along, you don't comply, you don't give, well, what are you here for then if you're not giving us money? Oh, for your immortal soul. Yeah. That's good. Sure. Yeah, we'll take care of that for you. But you really should be giving us money too. They kick you out with some of these very aggressive groups like Scientology, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons. You get kicked out. Oh, not as much with the Jewish community. Well, it depends as to which Jewish community. But you get kicked out, they remove everything that you were associated with as far as to having relationships with people. Personal relationships, business relationships, because it kind of overlaps. Venn diagram is very, very overlappy in some of these areas. And that's by design. Because, well, it's not, I was about to say it's the mutually assured destruction thing, but it's not. It's Is it really wrong of me to call it Stockholm Syndrome? You love the group that's been abusing you for all your life and you'd never leave? Because if you left, you'd be in just hurt? God, that's disgusting to think about it that way. Ooh. I just creeped myself out. That sucks.
Well, yeah, if you don't go along with the program, they punish you.
Yeah. And the punishment in particular is social shunning. And it's even worse than that because I mean,
When you first join, they love bomb your ass.
no, of course. Of course. But you leave, you might as well just have a scarlet letter tattooed onto your forehead as far as everybody's concerned. But it's even worse because you don't have anything showing to anybody. It's just you. And they
Or
know who you
your
are.
community is gone. And the thing with J-dubs is they'll even disown their own kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And um, early in the show's career, talking with Witchy Bunny about that, man, not cool. Not cool. And he even said, at the time, was still in contact with his family and really isn't supposed to be, but, kind of skirting the rules so long as they don't get caught, what are they going to do?
But if they got caught, they could be, disfellowshipped.
Yep. Yep. But the thing of it is, if one family bends the rules a little bit because it's not really hurting anybody, well, then others will kind of bend the rules a little bit because it's not really hurting anybody. And you get enough of them that are kind of bending the rules because it's not really hurting anybody, then, well, then what's the rule there for in the first place? So why bother? Because some of those rules include um, give me money. And we can't have that now, can we? That's one of the reasons why, again, as an overall, atheists are very much not what's the word that hive mind. And that's one of the strengths of the group as a whole.
Yeah, it's not a collective.
You want to talk about network management is like herding cats? Oh, you've not seen what it's like going to an atheist conference. I mean, the one time. I'm so glad that I actually got sleep that night because oh my god, it was like early in the morning and that was 12 hours of driving and then 24 hours later another 12 hours in the actually it was more because we got backup on the oh god. Oh, that fucking sucked. Anyway,
That's why I fly. That's,
no.
that's why I fly because I don't sleep when I go to cons
Yeah. Mm,
unless it's for a couple of hours, take a nap.
yeah. But mm,
But you had to.
yeah. Yeah, kind of had to. But when all is said and done, again, that's generally speaking where we end up coming from, and that's why I get so disgusted when the YouTube video I can only imagine that you've seen them too. The YouTube videos that come up where the street preacher, whoever the hell it is, and it could be the banana man, for one thing, they're just
Yeah.
like, okay, I want to just ask you a couple of quick questions. Have you ever told a lie? And anybody that has heard these street preacher videos, hearing the have you ever told a lie, you probably already know what the whole script is, but the short version is have you ever told a lie? Of course I have. Well, what do you call those people who do that? They're liars. Okay, Well, what kind of people go to hell? Liars. So you're going to hell. I mean, the inference is correct. I mean, the logic works, except for one small problem. And I think it's a pretty glaring problem. So, so let's see. Brigid, here's the problem as I see it, and see if I've got this right or wrong over here. The problem with this whole thing is it's all predicated on the existence of hell, which to date, the closest thing that we've ever come to it is that coal fire underground that has been burning for the last, what, 200 years? So, some 100 years or whatever the hell it is. So, to date, best of my recollection, there's no hell that's been produced. That sound about right? Did I got that right?
I mean, I guess. I mean, if you don't believe a place exists, it's not much of a threat to say that you're going there.
Yeah. Yeah, because let's see, it could be hell. It could be the underworld. It could be the land of the dead if you go with the whole Spanish influence. Oh, I'm trying to remember. What is it for the Norse? If you don't go to Valhalla, where do you end up? Oh, balls. I see now. Dalan would probably
Oh,
know.
I don't know.
I don't know. No, I'll probably figure it out later. Or you could have your soul eaten by the crocodile if your heart isn't as light as a feather, according to the ancient Egyptians. So there's plenty of possibilities.
Well, the Seventh-day Adventists don't believe in hell either. They think that you're permanently annihilated and that's it.
The let's see if I remember right. The Scientologists, no, the Jehovah's Witnesses. Um, no, God, too damn many of them that are all kinds of whacked out. Okay,
Yeah, J-Dubs only think that 144,000 people are going to heaven anyway. So,
right, and there's no way of knowing who that's going to be, but they keep getting more people because if they get more people, then their cred goes up.
yeah,
It's a giant Ponzi scheme that way. I guess I don't know.
yeah.
Who was it that I was thinking of? The Scientologists. That's who it was. You die, and if you're in good graces with Xenu, the space imp, with the hydrogen bombs in the lava pits of volcanoes. Look it up sometime, guys. You'll see how weird that is. You get your own universe. Wait, is it your own universe or your own planetary system? To be a god over it, to do whatever it is. I forget which one it is. But it's like, sure, yeah, you either do get that or you just, just go away. And didn't Tech say with Judaism there is no hell? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think they don't believe in hell. I think you go to the grave and that's it.
Yeah.
You're just dead.
Yeah. Um, and as far as the from Japan and such Shinto, for the most part, you're just kind of gone. Except that for about a week festival, the Obon festival, where the ancestors get to come back for a little while, and you put out food for them and whatnot. And then I love this because at the end of the Obon festival, you get out pots and pans and you make as much racket as you can at the end of the Obon festival. And you start from, like upstairs if you've got it upstairs, and you make your way to the doors and making noise, sweeping the dust out the door, and you basically yell out to them. Effectively, is what it comes down to. Is look, you don't have to go back to the grave, but you can't stay here. Go out, get out. You're done. You spent your time with us. Go away now. but we don't, we don't think that way. Some of us would very much like for there to be an afterlife, and I'm one of them. I'll admit it. I would really like for there to be. I can't accept that there is. I would really like for there to be, though, man. There was somebody else that hoped fervently that there was an afterlife. Somebody that I have respected since I was a child, literally. Eric Weiss, otherwise known by his stage name, Harry Houdini. He so much wanted to be able to talk to his mother again. And he got roped in by charlatans for a while and got so pissed off that he started to debunk them. He learned all the tricks of the trade and went into these seances and debunked them. He had to start wearing disguises because people knew what he looked like and didn't want him getting in there. But as one last test, he had a code. He had a code written up for his daughter, I think is what it was. I think it was for his daughter, that after he died, after a certain amount of time after he died, that they would continue to try to have seances to try to get him to talk, to give what was written down by Harry. And I forget how many years later, they finally daughter just said, you know what? No. And broke it open and is just like, here it is. Here's the paper. Here is the collection of what's supposed to have come through. And nothing came through. Because he was basically like, look, after I die, I will do everything I can. I will try. And if there is, and I can find a way, I will do it. Generally speaking, we don't think that that's a thing. Morally speaking, we would really like to think that, believe it or not, the end is the end. Not that we want to die. I mean, it's very much not the case. I mean, I'm still alive to kind of prove to that point. But, we don't want to exist forever. Because saying that we would live forever doesn't work, because the concept of living also includes the death part. And to borrow from Woody Allen, I'm not afraid of death, I just don't want to be there when it happens. But we predicate a lot of what we believe on what we've been able to understand about how everything works around us. And one of those is, there's a certain point where the brain computer just has its last guru meditation error, and that's pretty much it. In a very specific section of the brain too. The big gray lump, as opposed to some of the smaller pink kind of lumps in the back, which is annoying. But to that end, we recognize that there's a certain point where we have to do what we can with what we've got. And sometimes that involves asking people to work along with us, to try to make things better, make it easier for other people. I mean, isn't that the whole thing? You, growing up, you had to have heard at some point the whole mantra of leave the world better for your kids, have them have a better time, an easier time than what we had, and pass that along.
When I was a kid, absolutely not.
Oh, that's right. You
Because
had, yeah, sorry about that.
yeah, the end times were at any time, so there was really no use in trying to do anything better.
There you go. Oh, and I didn't look over because I didn't my peripheral vision did not recognize that the The text chat had slid over here. Stephanie had pointed it out. There it is. Um, the Norse end up in Hel's halls with one L. Hel is the daughter of Loki. It is always winter there, and you are snug in her halls, feasting and talking to your friends and relatives, which sounds great to me. There's something to be said for that, assuming that you're allowed to, be wrapped in pelts. Because if it's winter and you don't have pelts, and
Get cold.
yeah, I mean, just good for drinking soda. Not so good for, being comfortable. Just saying. Trying to, again, trying to figure out where morality comes from for a large group is never an easy thing, and nobody can speak to a whole group. But somebody that does, and they're accurate, that's, I hate to say it, that tends to be more like a cult. We have governing principles for ourselves. And I say that as a very broad, because we don't subscribe to the very same thing. We evaluate. We try to understand. We make the best decisions that we can based on our experiences and the things that we've learned, been taught. But people that go ahead and push ideologies, ideas, ways of behaving, yeah, that ends up being very much a cult. And I'm trying very hard not to intentionally trip the 45 wire, but it's really hard not to trip the 45 wire. But the problem here in the United States, especially, is that God, I'm trying to figure the right way of putting it. The people who have basically outed themselves as white Christian nationalists, fascists, for no other way of more accurately putting it, and I don't think it's a incorrect way of putting it. The problem is there is a combination of there is a figurehead pushing, which is 45, ostensibly, but there is also, well, the nebulous, never seen, overlooking Big Brother, which is basically what Q is. Nobody knows who it is. Nobody knows quite what they know. They don't know who they really are. They can't question, because if you question, well, then you're wrong. And these people have just fallen down the well of this whole thing. And it saddens and disgusts me.
Well, what's even worse, though, is that 45 is even playing along with that group now.
Oh, he has been.
But I mean, going as far as like, the whole lapel pin and endorsing it and all that. And that's scary. I mean, he doesn't believe it, of course, but he's using it.
He's been using anything and everything the whole way down. I mean, the Q thing is supposed to be what, the number 17? I think is what it is.
I have no idea.
Something like that. I forget what the hell it is. And it's been several years ago now. It's not been enough years ago. He was using the numbering thing, which didn't necessarily make a hell of a lot of sense until somebody puts together with, oh yeah, you get these two numbers over here. That's 17. That's a signal to us all. It's like the frick.
Yeah, but he's even started using their slogans. Where we go when we go all.
Because it serves his purpose.
Hmm.
Serves his personal service.
I don't know if you've kept up with Mike Flynn and his shenanigans or not, but they're doing this Reawaken America revival crap where they're going town to town and having like these big tent revival kind of things. But it costs a lot of money to get in, like $500. And they're selling all this merchandise and stuff, so they're, making bank off of it. But it's like they air a whole bunch of grievances and then they do a bunch of, prayer crap and push this, Christian nationalism stuff, and then do mass baptizings or whatever baptisms. That's the word I was looking for
Mm.
at these events, trying to get people to get the gift so they can speak in tongues and stuff. It's gotten really crazy.
Now the whole speaking in tongues thing, that's supposed to be, if I remember it correctly, because I did not grow up with that. I did not
It
grow up
was baptism
understanding.
by the Holy Spirit, and that was one of the gifts that you could get.
And wasn't that supposed to be, from what I remember of it, this crap, wasn't it supposed to be that speaking in tongues was speaking out prayer in the language of the angels?
Not sure, but it's bonkers.
It is. And over the years, we've heard people who are speech. Um, I was going to say speech pathologists, but I don't know that that's the right thing. People who actually understand about languages, who
Linguist.
ling, linguists in general. Yeah, okay. See, it should have been that. It should have been that simple for me to just see. No, it's got to be more complicated than that. Whatever. Who have basically said, you go to different areas and you hear people talking in tongues and they're using the same phonemes as what they already know how to use, and they never stray away from out of that.
It's a
So
farce.
yeah, and the people the people who have come out afterwards and they're just like, here I am, I'm 6 years old, 8 years old, I've been baptized in the Spirit, I'm expected to speak in tongues and I don't know what to do, and just fake it till you make it, man. Paraphrasing, but effectively what they were told, and they just made it up as they went along. It's like, okay, it's good enough, kid. We don't do that.
Nope.
We don't do that. We don't have to do that. And that's part of the thing. We don't have to do that. We go ahead. We say that we're atheists. Cool. All right. We'll accept you. Which is kind of the same reason why when for us when somebody says, I'm Christian. Okay. I definitely disagree with the stuff that's got to do with it, but I mean, you say you are. Okay, I'll accept that you are. Doesn't mean I'm going to trust you on a whole bunch of different things, but be that as it may.
Actually, I'm not going to trust you hardly at all
Mm.
because, you can do whatever the hell you want to and then just, oh, I prayed for forgiveness, so we're good. And Herschel Walker's even trying to pull that shit now.
Oh God, yeah. We might as well hit that. I wasn't thinking about it. Wasn't planning on it, but we might as well. Um, you know what? I keep meaning to look up. Hold on a second.
Yeah, for anybody that's, on the other side of the pond, he
Or
is a guy
elsewhere.
in Georgia or elsewhere. He's running for a Senate seat in the state of Georgia. And he used to be really good at, football, which is why Trump liked him because he was good at football
Yeah.
and suggested he run for a Senate seat. And, there's this huge hero worship thing going on in Georgia because he was good at football. But he's had one too many head injuries, and so he's not the sharpest tool in the shed anyway.
That is the kindest way of putting that.
he speaks a lot of word salad. He can't string, two coherent thoughts together. But, there was some, scandal where, he had children that he hadn't copped to that were, with different women. And that came out. And then it comes to find out there was a woman that he had paid money to get an abortion for, and he accused, the press of lying, said that he was going to file a lawsuit against Daily Beast and blah blah blah. But this woman had a copy of signed check from him plus a get well card. And so then he came up with the excuse, well, I give a lot of people a lot of money. I don't even know who she was. I don't remember. And then his ex-wife comes out and says, how do you not remember who this is? Because you had another kid with her and you're paying $3,800 a month in child support. So
Yeah,
you know who this is.
it's really really amazing how that's all played out.
And he's all been running on this platform of, zero exceptions for abortions and pushing, strong family units and how, children need to have a father in the home. And he's got 4 kids that he's not involved in their lives in any way.
Which one of them has gone on social media, and what did he do?
Went on full blast.
I got to see one of those videos. He tore a new asshole from Jersey to Dallas
Oh, yeah.
because he wasn't having it.
And the GOP are still excusing it by saying, oh, well, through the grace of God, he's an imperfect vessel, but he's already, he can be a different person now, blah, blah, blah.
Now,
It's like,
if I remember right, that sounds very suspiciously like, Mom, Dad, he's a really good man, and I can change him to be better. I really believe in him. You just have to give him a chance.
well,
Um,
that's why his son went off on him, is because it's like he said that he would straighten up and fly right, so I supported him, but he's lying. He's still lying. He hasn't changed.
no, no. And the reason why this is important to us is that they've accepted who this personality is. Not him. Just hold on a second. I'll clarify a little bit. They've accepted this personality type. They don't care who the individual is. All they care about is, can they give enough bluster to push through what their base group is willing to accept. And it's I'm gonna use a big term here for a second. I'm not drinking alcohol, so I can get this one out. Duplicitousness, which is just a fancy word of saying they're going to talk out both sides of their faces until they can get whatever it is that they want as quickly and as solidly as they can. Because Herschel Walker, never mind being a word salad, it it's barely a salad. At least a
There's no
salad.
there there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Mehmet Oz, another one where they're trying to push him through, but making up where his residency is, making out that he's just one of the blue collar folks. No. When you have 10 properties, no. That he's just he's just any other guy out there who thinks people have ever heard the term crudité. I had never heard the term before he went out there and did his whole ad campaign.
I had, but it's been a long time. very long time.
Yeah,
Like back in my time in Arkansas when we used to have to do little social fundraisers and things
yeah.
when we moved in those circles. But and then shows up at a tailgate party where he's drinking red wine at a tailgate party. Who does that? I mean, seriously.
I don't,
I can't even with that one.
I don't understand.
I have no evens left. I am out of them.
The reason why this is such a problem for us, why this political system sucks for us, not the entirety system of the American thing. Well, that's a whole other thing. But why this is such a pain in the ass for us is because from the outside of these groups, we see how much of this has just become hive mind.
Yeah.
You will do, you will follow, you will believe. And it's being believed so deeply that there are people who just will not listen and analyze, or minimally. There are so few of them. John Stewart. John Stewart had just done an interview with, oh God, who the hell was it?
It was the AG of Arkansas.
Yes, it was absolutely a thing of beauty to see the difference between someone who came into this interview ill prepared. There is no other way of putting it. And I don't use this expression lightly. She was simply spewing vagaries to try to, if not deflect, to at least cushion the questions that were coming from Jon Stewart, who, reminding y'all, Jon Stewart was a stand-up comedian. Damn good one.
Mhm.
Had his own comedy news TV show. Damn good at it. Called out Chicago for the what they call pizza that the rest of us call, an Italian waiting pool. And he came into this interview. He knew. He knew the names of groups. He specifically named off 3 different groups because the question was about the laws that were put into place to prevent children, minors, let's leave it at that, minors, from
Mhm.
getting gender affirming treatments. Trans kids, who
Yep.
make up a very small portion of the population. And he came in there and he's just like, well, why did you do this if this group that has studied it and this group that has studied it and this group, because he had the American Medical Association, the end, I forget what the name of it was, but I mean, some group that was specifically regarding endocrinology, which
Mhm.
in and of itself, the fact that I actually got that word out and I'm not drinking is actually really good on my side. I'm very proud of myself.
And the American Association of
Pediatrics,
Pediatricians.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there was one other one that was in there, but be that as it may, he knew his stuff. When she said that, when she said that children who had, she wasn't using the term gender dysphoria, which is the technical term for it, but when they were talking about that, and said that, kids, it basically, it boiled down to her saying it's just a phase. Seriously, if you listen to the short, I'll find the short and I'll link it into the show notes so that we can have you guys see it. She said that, when they get through this, 98% of these kids are they're perfectly fine later on in their life as they're going on. And John's just sitting there in the chair, and he's got his hand on his his chin on his head, and he's just like, wow, 98%. That is such an incredibly made up number.
Yeah.
And she holds a great poker face. If the video cut is literally right after that, because I mean, video editing, who in the hell knows exactly, but if that was actually a direct cut as he's finishing that off, she holds a really good poker face. But I'm pretty sure there's a tell in there that something about the there's something about the air of her that I kind of think there was a, oh shit, I was really not prepared for all this.
Well, she said as much at the end
She
of
did.
it that I didn't expect to have to go through some grilling like the Supreme Court.
Yeah. And the commentary that has happened in Twitter for it have basically been, if you weren't ready for a comedian to come in who's got the facts, no way in hell you should ever see the Supreme Court. I mean, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Well, he was just asking for her source information. Where did you get your source information?
And all she said was, we had a lot of people that testified. They're in the history for the legislation, and we'll be more than happy to provide that for you later. I just don't know who it was off the top of my head. Now, credit where credit is due. Being able to say, I don't remember, I can't recall it directly off the top of my head. However, I will have someone provide you that information. We respect that answer, generally speaking. However, if you know that you're going into an interview and this is going to be one of the topics that's on the plate, to be so ill prepared, and then you say, I don't know off the top of my head, we'll have to find that information for you, and inclusively saying the information for who spoke, the doctors that spoke about this legislation, are in the legislative timeline. That specifically line pissed me right the fuck off, because that line loosely translates to, I'm not going to tell you my sources. Why don't you look it up for yourself and find out that I'm right? And that's bullshit. That is some heavy duty bullshit. Some of us have dealt with people on social media. I'm pretty sure that you have, where people are just like, well, just go ahead and just Google it for yourself. And no, man, it's your position, man. You show me. Put up or shut up, man.
Yeah.
I've had more than my fair share of people who tried to pull that bullshit on me.
I just have a simple meme that I pop out if they're spewing stuff like that, and it's just a little cartoon stick figure holding up a sign that says "citation, please."
Yep, I've
I've
got
gotten a
that.
lot of use out of it.
I've got that one saved in my collection of images specifically for HCTV
Yeah.
because it's a good one. Every once in a while, I'll end up using that one. Not very often. There are other ones that are really good like that, like the again, there's some things that we live by in for atheist morality. The citation, please, citation required. So that's a good one. I would rather have I would rather have questions that can't be answered rather than answers that can't be questioned, which
Yep,
I
that's a
forget.
good one.
That was that Feynman? I feel like that was Feynman. I'm pretty sure it was Feynman. Um, the and the long-standing one, which it I don't believe it was ever said by, but it's a photo meme of Dr. Carl Sagan looking very, very comfortable, but very intent, where the text on it is, that's a nice hypothesis you've got there. Be a shame if anyone tested it.
I like that.
That is a good one. I've got that. Maybe I should, I should, over in the Discord channel, I should go ahead and make one for
Yeah.
picture memes for us all.
Yeah, we need a meme repository.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and do. I'm just afraid I'm going to end up dropping a couple. I will end up dropping a couple of My Little Pony ones in there. I know I'm going to do it because it's just so out of place and just so perfect. Because people have got to look at it and just go, "The frick did I just see?" Ah,
Sure, Discord. You do it. You do you, dude.
yeah, well, yeah, yes, it's mine, but I mean, it's ours.
Hours,
You,
but you do you.
yeah. Well, I mean, no, no, not right now. Not right now.
I
Not
annoyed
right
the
now.
hell out of y'all enough in there.
No, perfectly fine. Um,
It's true.
yeah, it is. You know,
You've had to you've had to put up with my NAFO Doge memes. Those are funny.
no, they are. I was, they were okay. This is completely sideways from everything else, by the way. Uh, the uh, the main the main account for the Doge dudes. I'm sorry. I just like referring to it that way. It's just adorable to me that in my own head they had put something out on Twitter that they weren't able to get a Twitter blue check for having a registered account, not
Hmm.
registered,
A
confirmed
professional
account,
account.
whatever,
Yeah,
whatever,
confirmed.
whatever the hell it is,
Verified.
verified account. Thank you, because they hadn't been in a news report yet. And answering on behalf of the HCTV, I answered them and said, you've been mentioned on our show. So what? We don't count?
Deutsche Welle did a 30-minute special on NAFO.
Oh, really?
Yes. I can get you a link to it.
Don't give it to me. Give it to them so that they can put it over to Twitter and just say, "Hey
So,
guys."
hey, we're famous now.
Oh God. And some I don't know if it was one of them, but somebody pointed out that the the bridge destruction in Ukraine.
Mhm.
Okay, for anybody that's not familiar with what's been going on, for the last 6+ months or so, Russia has incurred into Ukraine on a weekend expedition to try and annex part of it. 6 months later, and well, it's not gone swimmingly, I guess is the best way of putting it, which ironically enough. And there is a rather important bridge, a rather long bridge, that suddenly, recently, just kind of, what's the technical term for it? Poof?
What's floaty?
Yeah, yeah, kind of went poof. And the problem of it is, the lack of this bridge means that, well, obviously, traffic. Well, this bridge in particular is over water. So with lack of bridge, it's kind of hard to get any kind of
Supply lines.
mechanized, um, tire treaded materials through. So somebody had commented that this is now the moment of, as would put by the brilliant tactician Rorschach. You're see, now the problem of it is I'm trying to remember how it was said. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. So the stuff that is already on one side of the bridge, not the other, they're pretty much stuck.
Yeah. They've got traffic that can go one direction, and the only way that it can go is towards Russia and
Yeah.
not to Crimea. So, yeah, it's going to be hard getting supplies over to them. Oops.
Oopsie.
But
Like I
we
said,
had fun with that.
yeah.
Julia Davis, I just love her. Yeah, she's a news reporter, but her native language is Russian, and she will translate, some of the stuff for us from the Talking Heads. But she had a picture on there. She's like, "Hey, Putin, here's your off ramp."
Um, Stephanie has also said, a kind of caught fire. Long-standing meme of Russians smoking where they should not, and then
Yeah,
collapsed. I'm trying really hard.
NAFO did NAFO did a meme on that. Actually, it was like a short little clip of it, and it showed like some bombs hitting it or something like that, but the bombs were actually cigarettes. And then it had little dancing dogs around, but yeah, the little missiles were cigarettes. It was funny.
And some of the doji doggies having melting s'mores and whatnot on sticks. I saw that one too. The reason why I'm trying really hard not to laugh about this one is I'm just thinking to myself, concrete doesn't usually smoke from fire and heat. Usually, just
Well, it's all the metal and stuff from the train.
yeah, but even so, metal and whatnot doesn't usually smoke and fire itself as.
Well, there was oil in those tankers that were on the trains.
Yeah, but that doesn't kind of do like the Michael Bay explodey fire. It's usually one of these big fireball and then a lot of fire, water floaty on top of
It was impressive as hell, though, wasn't it?
it was. It was.
I was awake when that happened, and I was like, "Wow, look at
Hun-
that!"
People within about 10 clicks of that would not have slept.
Yeah, but I'm on the other side of the world.
Yeah,
Just I happened to be awake when it happened, and it was breaking news, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that's beautiful."
you've also been awake at really odd times because I've seen posts that you've done where it's just like, I should have been asleep 3 hours ago,
Three
but
hours
there's too
ago,
much
but here
shit
I
going on.
am. Oh, it's true.
And believe it or not, this actually leans into the last of the morality thing. Believe it or not, I'll show you how this works together. Generally speaking, again, very broadly speaking, we will end up talking through a problem. We will not, generally speaking, open with violence. We will mock, we will discuss, sometimes even compromise, but we will try to come to understanding. Again, reminding you, generally speaking, first. It's much more. God, this is going to sound so pretentious. It is much more an intellectual pursuit for advancement than a reactionary and violent one. And again, I'm saying this as a generality. God, I can't talk.
Well,
Because there are all kinds. Some are much more willing to go ahead and, uh, disable the safeties on a lawnmower and go after somebody if they've pissed them off for saying the wrong thing. But
but if you look at statistics of prison inmates, though, it bears it out. There's a very tiny percentage in prison that are atheists. It's like 2%
or less.
or
Gen-
less. Yeah.
Generally speaking, less if I remember correctly. And then there is the other side of it, which is where they say, well, when you're inside, you don't want to identify yourself as not being religious because people go after you for that. Which inevitably comes up to the citation needed,
Yep.
which never seems to pan out. You know, it's Where, um, you know, I'm just going to see about wrapping us up right about here. As far as I'm concerned, where does atheist morality come from? It's, it's, it's not. It's, if you want to call it anything, it's humanism. It's the idea that, we're all here together. Why should we make it harder than what it already is? Why can't we try to make it easier for everybody? Because, I mean, it's everybody. Why can't we all benefit? Just because people who couldn't spend the money that they've got in 4,000 lifetimes, just because they cut it down to 3,000 lifetimes, means that they're being impacted in a bad way? But it ends up helping societally? The benefit outweighs, man. And it doesn't have to be about money. It could be about any resources. It could be about educational resources. It could be about food resources. It could be about water, shelter, medicine. We've got enough to be able to help everybody. Not all atheists agree on it. But if you go looking for what you should expect, I think what you should expect is atheists just tend to be people who want to live, want to help. And really, I don't think that's such a bad thing. What do you want to finish off with?
I don't think I really have anything.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those nights. And my God, we're actually going to get out of here on time. It's losing my earbud over here. It's not it's not an easy task to talk about something like this because there's just so damn many variables. But you know, there are some atheists that suck. There's some who are fabulous. And if you're someone that maybe you're catching us for the first time and you got all the way through, first off, just thank you. But if you're someone who's caught onto this and you kind of wanted to understand a little bit more and you feel like you've not gotten quite enough and you really do want to ask a little bit more, the link for our Discord, for our Facebook, Twitter, it's all in the show notes. It's easy to find us. Please, if you want to ask, if you really have an intellectual question and you want to learn, feel free to ask. We're here. We will do our best to help you understand. And just be safe. So let's just call it a night. And it's actually earlier because I had a thing that I had to record before we actually get started with this show, and I have to remind Dalan about it. So everybody, thank you for being with us tonight. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives, and you got something to think about for the week ahead. Live chat, folks. Thank you, as always. Sora, don't know if you're still there or not. I haven't seen you post in a little bit, but that's okay. Thank you. Stephanie, Felis, guys, thank you so much. I just hope that hope things stay safe for you all. It's gonna be one of those nights. Brigid, I don't have anybody to buffer you in front of so that you can try to figure out, but I'm pretty sure you've got a pretty good list. And since we don't have anybody buffering ahead of you, if you want to do more than one person, feel free, because there are large numbers of groups right now that I would love to tell. But you do you, because it's your piece.
gonna go with Mike Flynn, you traitorous son of a bitch. Go fuck yourself.
That's a good one. I'm thinking kind of sideways onto that. Well, not exactly sideways on top of that one, but whoever it is over at DOD that has not, pardon me, rephrasing. Your Honor, I'll rephrase the question. How about whoever it is over at DOD that is not, who is intentionally not hauling his ass in so that he can be reactivated and court martialed?
Yeah, him too. And I'm pretty sure it's a him.
Yeah, I
Because
don't.
there are very few women that are up that high in rank.
And there's probably a, I was going to say a good reason for it, but it's actually a bad reason.
And come on, Merrick Garland, you have more than enough to indict already. And then some.
I know. I know. And it hurts me because I want to believe that he's trying his damnedest to make sure that this is a one shot deal. Because ain't no way, ain't no way this is something that you can let slip through on any technicality whatsoever. You can't let that happen. I'm I'm unhappy with how long it's taken to, but at the same time, where would we be if there was a technicality and just it just didn't happen. They say slow and steady, so I'm gonna believe on that one for right now. I don't like it as much as anybody else, so we'll just work it where it is. So anyway, thank you all for being with us. Again, if you would like to be in contact with us, all of our information is over there on the video. Because I've got the business card over there. Yeah, I had business cards designed. That was Joey's work. So you can be in touch with us over at HCTV, holycrapthevlogcast.com on the website. The audio version of the show is available as a podcast over there. The phone number, if you want to be in touch, is 859-HCTV-554. And we will be looking forward to talking again next week, assuming everything works the way it's supposed to. So, until next time, please be safe. Cannot stress that enough. Just really quickly, because there's a couple of pieces. Item number one, COVID's still out there. Please do whatever it is that you need to do for your own damned safety. Please. And because it is spooky month, here in the United States, because there are jack-o'-lanterns out, pumpkins out, there is also the opportunity for kids to grab them off of porches, go to highway overpasses, and lob them into traffic at night. If you're driving at night, please be very attentive of highway overpasses for exactly this reason. If you're driving over these overpasses, you see something that's a little on the weird side, drive to the other end and then stop. Pull over and stop. You don't have to get out of your car. Just stop there with your brakes on. Sometimes that's enough peer pressure to get these kids to just move it along if you think that they might be doing something unsafe. I helped out with something called Pumpkin Patrol here in New York State some years back. Part of the training was to see the aftermath of some of these. You don't want to see these. So, until the next time we're together, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. My lady, too damn many years later, I am still in love with you. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. And until the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.